Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hope everybody is doing fantastic. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to kick off another discussion, and this might be a question that for some of you might be too simple of a question. For some it might be really complex. Regardless of the range of the difficulty of this question, this is really going to kick off a huge discussion, because in order to understand everything that we've kind of covered in this channel so far, we really have to come back around to understanding this question of who is God. Yep. Who is God? And you'd be surprised, because there are many Christians who don't know exactly who God is. And so this is very important that we discuss this and we travel through this together, because we really have to understand who God is in order to really kind of grasp what it is that he desires of us, created in us, purposes for us. All these things in terms of building a relationship with God starts by understanding who he is. And so first off, what I want to share with you in this quick video is that God is not like man, or he's distinct from his creation. So what do we mean by this, right? Well, God is not a replication of you and I, right? If I were to look at you, you would look at me. We look like humans, right? Whether you're a man or a woman, we just look like humans. We have facial structure, we have bones, we have blood running through our body. We have all these kinds of things that make up us as humans. Well, God isn't that, okay? Just to make that as simple as I can, God is a spiritual being. So God does not have the makeup of man. His eternal essence is not the makeup of man, but he is rather a spiritual being. Okay, so God being a spiritual being also leads us to understand that he's eternal. Okay, so I'm kind of throwing a couple things at you just to really look at it, really wrestle with it, really kind of grasp it, right? God is a spiritual being and he's an eternal being. So him being eternal means he's been here forever. Right? So before the world was formed, before the galaxies and the universe was formed, before the stars were placed in the sky, before the moon and earth, Jupiter, all these other things, man, all the planets, the galaxies were created, God has always been here. So there was never a time, being eternal, he's an eternal being, meaning there was never a time that God was not, meaning there was never a time that God didn't exist. Okay, which also leads us to the understanding that for God to be God, God must be the highest, right, authority, deity. God must be the highest being there is. So we see that we were created, we see certain things were created, but no one or nothing created God. For God to be God and for him to be eternal means he's always had to be here. So there was never a time that he was not, or he was not present. Okay, so God is spiritual. God is a spiritual being. He's an eternal being. But lastly, so I don't throw too much at you, right? God is infinite. Okay, so for God to be infinite means that he is forever. Well, we kind of went over that in the eternal being, but rather in this direction, we're looking to the point of him being unlimited, right? So God being unlimited and us being limited can kind of cause some confusion, right? Well, how are we then able to understand someone who's unlimited if we are limited, or infinite and we are finite? And this is a really good question. And so to really progress forward into this, we understand that God being unlimited and us in our humanity as humans being limited, we will never fully grasp all that God is. Okay, so again, if you were able to grasp all the material in a class that you're studying or a class that you're taking, right, you understand everything from the front of the book, from the front of the textbook to the back of the textbook, right? You understand it all. There's not a part within the textbook, within the studies, within the class that you don't understand. Well, God's not like this, right? Because God is unlimited, that means that we will always be learning, growing, or diving further into who God is. So there will never be a point in our lives where we would say, I know everything there is to know about God, about creation, or simply about anything. right? You've heard the term, you don't know everything, so just sit down, shut up, you don't know everything, stop acting like you know everything. Yeah, because we're limited human beings. We don't know everything, right? You may not know what I know, I may not know what you know. It's everything. We just don't know everything because we're limited human beings. But God, who we're speaking of in this subject, is unlimited. So him being unlimited means that he's infinite, and there's never going to be a chance or an opportunity where we're going to be able to fully grasp all that God is. But that does not stop us from getting to know him. Simply, on the last note, because this God invites us to know him. He invites us to know him. So come to know him, because he's inviting. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I can't wait to see you again so we can continue this conversation. This is so important, and I can't wait to see you then. But until then, peace.